Hello, I'm Nima Rajan. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau took the day off from public appearances, his second in a row, but the Prime Minister's office was active today, updating measures focused on seniors, home care, and temporary foreign workers during the COVID-19 pandemic. Meanwhile, Canada is quickly closing in on 25,000 COVID-19 cases. As of this morning, there are 24,383 confirmed and presumptive infections across the country. Over the weekend, Alberta announced that it will send ventilators and personal protective equipment to assist efforts in Quebec, Ontario, and British Columbia. Alberta Premier Jason Kenney says he is confident that Alberta will not run out of equipment. The coronavirus has claimed 717 lives in Canada. Well, the Easter long weekend typically draws thousands of people to shelters across the country where they can enjoy free meals. But for Easter weekend this year, many organizations serving people in need had to cancel or adjust their Easter plans to help stop the spread of COVID-19. Keith Hambley is the chief executive at Fred Victor, a Toronto organization that operates shelters and affordable transitional housing. He says though free meals were still welcomed, there was also a sense of disappointment in the loss of their communal enjoyment. Well, OPEC, Russia, and other oil-producing nations yesterday finalized the production cut that was agreed upon last week in hopes of boosting crashing prices amid the coronavirus pandemic and a price war. Alberta's Premier Jason Kenney, who commented on the agreement Saturday, said his government made it clear to OPEC, the U.S., and other governments that Alberta has already been curtailing production for the past 15 months. He also said that the province told them that it cannot really affect global prices because it lacks the pipeline for global market access. Well, Indigenous communities have shut their borders to outsiders because of the COVID-19 pandemic. These shutdowns are devastating for Indigenous tour operators along the BC coast, as well as other areas of the country. James Cowpar with Haida Style Expeditions, specializing in cultural eco-tours, says all of his tours planned for May have now been canceled. He says he hopes Ottawa comes to their financial rescue soon so his and other Indigenous tour businesses can survive. Well, moving to Quebec now, where the provincial coroner's office is investigating the deaths of dozens of seniors at a private long-term care facility west of Montreal. Premier François Legault has described it as a case of gross negligence. Legault says 31 people have died there since March 13th. He says at least 5 tested positive for COVID-19. Police and the provincial health department are also investigating. In Ontario, Premier Doug Ford says workers and residents at shelters and care homes will be prioritized for COVID-19 screening. The province plans to increase testing to 8,000 per day this week, with the aim of testing 16,000 people per day by early May. Ontario is reporting 421 new COVID-19 cases today and 17 new deaths. That brings the province to a total of 7,470 cases, including 291 deaths and 3,357 cases that have been resolved. Premier Doug Ford expressed frustration last week that Ontario has been testing for COVID-19 well below its capacity of 13,000 a day. Well, the COVID-19 pandemic has affected the investigation into the crash of Flight 752. Canada and other countries had been waiting for months for Iran to hand over the flight recorders from the Ukraine International Airlines flight so their data can be downloaded and analyzed. Travel bans imposed due to COVID-19 have made it impossible for investigators to go to Iran for that process. Iran's military shot the plane down on January 8th, killing all 176 people on board, including 55 Canadians and 30 permanent residents. Well, as Easter and Passover were celebrated over the weekend around the world, President Donald Trump spoke from the Oval Office, giving a special Easter message.
Though we will not be able to gather together with one another as we normally would on Easter, we can use this sacred time to focus on prayer, reflection, and growing in our personal relationship with God, so important. I ask all Americans to pray that God will heal our nation, to bring comfort to those who are grieving, to give strength to the doctors, nurses, and healthcare workers, to restore health to the sick, and to renew the hope in every person who is suffering.
The president thanked all those fighting against the pandemic and said that the nation will come through like never before. Well, a mask producer in China says it is rushing to fill orders from overseas while facing stricter quality inspections from national regulators. The company plans to increase daily production from 200,000 to 700,000 masks. Chinese customs have announced that ventilators, masks, and other supplies being exported to fight COVID-19 will be subject to quality inspections following complaints in Australia and the Netherlands. Authorities in Greece say they are concerned about indications of a buildup of migrants and refugees on the Turkish coast near the Greek islands. The Greek islands last year were the European Union's busiest entry point for illegal migration, according to the border protection agency Frontex. In early March, daily clashes broke out at the Greek-Turkish land border after the Turkish government said it would no longer stop migrants heading to Europe. Greek Defense Ministry officials say the military has remained on alert at the land and sea borders with Turkey since that crisis. Well, the COVID-19 pandemic has brought new challenges for Russian President Vladimir Putin. The biggest may be the postponement of a nationwide vote on April 22nd to finalize sweeping constitutional reforms that would allow him to stay in power until 2036. Billboards promoting that vote had already been erected in Moscow and other major cities. Well, in Sri Lanka, the government there has announced plans to reopen schools and universities next month. It says it's confident, based on current trends, that the country will be safe from COVID-19. This is part of a gradual exit plan from a countrywide curfew that began on March 20th. Now, Easter Sunday marked the 40th anniversary of Terry Fox beginning his Marathon of Hope. He started out on April 12, 1980, running until he was forced to stop 143 days later in Thunder Bay, Ontario. Terry's younger brother, Daryl, says the anniversary offers a chance to look forward and is particularly poignant as Canadians deal with the COVID-19 pandemic. The Terry Fox Research Institute says more than $750 million has been raised for cancer research through Terry Fox runs since his death on June 28, 1981. Well, that'll do it for today's news update. I'm Nima Rajan. Thank you for joining us, and I'll see you next time.